So thanks everyone for coming along to this Football Foundation webinar regarding small grants. So this is a piece of work that a few different county FAs have decided to work together on. So there'll be a number of you from various different county FAs all on this call. But yeah, if you've got any follow-up questions, please do get in touch with your local county FA, who'll be able to provide some local support for you. But this the information you hear in this should be relatively general, so it applies to everyone. So there's a couple of us from county FAs on the call tonight. So I'm Aidan Ainsley, Facility Investment Lead from Kent FA. We've also got Cameron Miller, who's London FA's Facility and Investment Officer. And we're also supported by Joe Robinson from Easy Fundraising, who's their partnerships manager. He'll be talking to us a little bit later on about how you can use Easy Fundraising to help with your applicant contribution towards some of these grants. Joe's really good, comes from a county FA as well, previously at Birmingham County FA, so knows a lot of the struggles that grassroots clubs deal with in terms of finding funding for developing their facilities. So yeah, we'll be able to provide a really good resource to you there. Okay, so in terms of what we're going to go through tonight, we'll hopefully keep it within an hour. It might slip just over, depending on how we get on. Going to give you an overview of the broader Football Foundation and the funding that they've got available. We're then going to deep dive into the specific grants that we're kind of covering this evening. We'll then go on to your applicant contribution and what you'll need to consider to ensure that you've got the right partnership funding available. This is where Joe from Easy Fundraising will come in and be able to give you a few hints and tips about how you can use Easy Fundraising to help with that funding. And then we'll finish up with the actual mechanisms you'll need to go through in terms of how to apply, and we'll do a little demo of the actual application portal as well if you've not seen it before. Okay, so just to kick off in terms of the Football Foundation funding, so who exactly are the Football Foundation? I'm sure most of you are aware, but I thought it's worth adding this in just to kick us off. So the Football Foundation is the FA, Premier League and UK government's joint charity, which funds improved and new football and sports facilities. It's worth noting that because there's often quite a lot of people who look at the Premier League and the amount of money that there is floating around and say, oh, it's not funding grassroots football and the money's not filtering down. Obviously, the numbers are quite ridiculous in the Premier League, but there is a good amount of it that is coming down into grassroots football via the Football Foundation. Whether it's enough is another question, but there certainly is a lot of money coming down. So as it stands, the foundation has been running for 25 years, so it's celebrating its 25th birthday this year. And to date has invested £1.3 billion into projects which have been coupled with partnership funding, meaning that those projects have been to the value of 2.8 billion since the foundation launched in 2000. So some quite substantial figures there. I think that's around 75,000 projects in total. So yeah, hopefully most of you on the call will be able to add to those numbers following this webinar. So the foundation's just going or has just started a new strategy period as of July this year. So they've got a new 5-year strategy to 2030, which I've dropped a link onto this slide as well. So if you follow that, once I send the slides around afterwards, you'll be able to have a deep dive into that. But it's a really exciting strategy, and hopefully is going to give us a real platform for some fantastic facilities moving forward. So in terms of the foundation's various funding pots, so I've put them into kind of 3 categories there. Large grants, so obviously 3G pitches, which is generally the one that piques most people's interest. new pavilions and new grass pitch sites. We won't be going through those large grants this evening, but we likely will have a future webinar which will focus more on the major capital projects. Can we get everyone to mute just so we don't get any feedback there? Perfect, thank you. So yeah, we won't cover those large grants today. Equally, the grass pitch funding. So we've actually got a webinar coming up in a couple of weeks, which will be focusing on pitch power, which is the first step to unlocking grass pitch funding. We're then going to have a follow-on webinar in the new year, which will focus on how you can unlock those 3 funding schemes once you've undertaken a pitch power assessment of your site. So we won't be covering grass pitches tonight either, but we are going to focus on those smaller grants. So all of the ones that are listed there, except for the bottom one, the maximum grant you can get is £25,000. The catering unit is the one that's up to £50,000. And yeah, we'll explain those in a bit more deep dive now. Okay, so one thing just to mention before we get into this, and this is something that applies to all Football Foundation applications, whether it's small grants, grass pitches, or the large ones, the foundation won't do any retrospective funding. So if you've started any element of your project already, they'll reject the application straight away. So one thing I'd urge you to just be cautious of is if you are either in the middle of a project already and you're thinking, actually, we can get some additional funding towards this, there's no point applying to the foundation for it because they'll reject it. Or if you're getting impatient, which can happen, especially with the small grants, if you leave applications for goalposts, for example, too late to the start of the season, if you purchase the goals because you need them, the foundation won't fund them. So yes, you need to just bear that in mind. The second thing to mention is the only people who can apply if you're from a club are the chair, the secretary, or treasurer. So I'll go through the process that they'll need to go through to start an application later on this evening. But if you're the vice chair, for example, or you're the club development officer and you try and sign up to the application portal, you'll end up getting stopped at that point. So whilst you can assist the chair, secretary, and treasurer to do it, it needs to be them that's listed as the primary or secondary contact in order to submit an application. Okay, so the first one we're just going to talk about is goalposts. So this is the foundation's most popular grant. So as I've mentioned, you can apply for a maximum of £25,000 towards goalposts, but the total grant that the foundation give you won't exceed 75% of the total project cost. So you'll need to find at least 25% to go alongside that. With this particular grant, it's a little more complicated than some of the others. So if you just look at the bottom of the screen there where you've got the different goal sizes, there's a maximum grant that's available per goal size. So for example, the 11v11 box goals that look like they do on the TV cost about £4,000. So if you want to get those for your site, you can, but the maximum grant you'll get is only going to be 1,440. So you'll need to fund the remaining 2,560, if my maths is right, yourself. So it's worth kind of bearing that in mind, which would mean that your contribution would be quite significantly beyond 25%. Obviously, you've got slightly lower figures for 9v9, 7v7, or 5v5 pitches. In terms of 3v3, so we know with Future Fit that next season 3v3 is going to be entering for the youngest age group. So in terms of goals, we don't know exactly what it's going to look like yet, but we do know that the FA, the Football Foundation, are working together on developing an offer for 3v3 goals so that you can get funding towards those when the time comes. So I understand that's going to be available in the new year, so you should have enough time ahead of the start of the new season to have those goals in place. So the goals need to be bought from one of the Football Foundation's approved suppliers. So they've only brought this in this summer, or summer just gone. So if you've previously gone through this scheme, you'd have realised that you could have gone with any goalpost supplier as long as the goal was had the right British standard code next to it. But now you've got preferred suppliers, so they're listed on the foundation's website. So you'll need to get 2 like-for-like quotes. So you'll need to approach at least 2 of those suppliers, request a quote from them, and then when you go through your application, you'll then be able to upload those 2 quotes, and the foundation will give you the funding for the cheapest quote. In terms of security of tenure, so you don't need a lease or a license in place in order to secure this fund. So yeah, if you're just renting a site, you can still apply for goalposts to go on it. In terms of eligible applicants, obviously football clubs, you're certainly eligible. It can be town and parish councils. It could be district and borough level local authorities. It could be schools who apply. So yeah, this is one that's quite easy for everyone to get funding towards. One thing the foundation would advise is that they want you to apply for all of your goals in one go. So if you're looking at a site, instead of submitting an application for one of your pitches and then 3 months down the line applying for another set of goals on the site, they'd prefer that you only do one per season and get them all done at the same time. That's largely down to the volume of strain it puts on the grant assessment team if they're dealing with lots of smaller level applications. So just shifting on to storage containers. So again, you can get a maximum grant of up to 25 grand. With this one, again, you'll still need 2 like-for-like quotes. If they are refurbished storage containers, they must come with 12 months warranty. So you'll need to be able to evidence exactly where these containers are going to be on the site. So they'll want you to upload it could be a Google Maps image with it marked out as to where you're planning to put the storage container. Alongside that, you'll also need evidence from your local authority that either planning's not required or that you've got planning. So yeah, that will just be something they'll require. They'll want to know that you've got evidence of your partnership funding. So it might be that you provide a bank statement showing that you've got the funds there. And yeah, in terms of security of tenure, again, that's one where you'll need 5 years security of tenure in order to apply for the fund. One thing just to note on that as well is the fund can't support the conversion of containers into changing rooms, club rooms, toilets, or catering facilities. It is one that we get inquiries about relatively regularly, and storage containers can be a cheaper option to provide changing facilities, but unfortunately, it's not something the foundation will fund at the moment. So portable floodlights, again, maximum grant of up to £25,000. Again, same as the others, you'll need 2 like-for-like quotes. You'll need to show where the lights are going to be stored. So this is one that you can submit an application for floodlights alongside an application for storage container. Or if you've got something existing, you can take photos of that and indicate where they're going to be stored and whether they'll be insured as well. Um, the key one with portable floodlights is the foundation won't fund if you're planning to use the floodlights on pitches that are used for match play, because they know that if you've got portable floodlights there, that'll increase the usage to the point where the pitch quality is likely to diminish. And the FA Football Foundation, County FAs, at the moment, we've got a strategic aim around improving the volume of good quality pitches across the country. So they don't want to give you funding for floodlights if you're then going to be overusing the pitches and reducing their quality. Fencing. So there's a couple of things to mention with fencing. Again, same things apply. Maximum 25 grand grant, and applicants will need to have 2 quotes. Planning permission is usually required for anything that's over 2 meters. So it depends what sort of fencing you're looking at. If you're looking at site security fencing, which is something the foundation are pretty keen on, because it will hopefully prevent your pitches from having unauthorized vehicles accessing it. Then it might not need to be over 2 meters, particularly if it's a public open space, which you'll still get your dog walkers, etc. on, but it's just to kind of stop vehicles getting on. Then you probably won't need planning permission. But again, like previously, you need to speak to your local authority to either get planning permission or to get evidence that you don't need planning permission. Again, for this one, you'll need security of tenure for at least 5 years. So that could be the freehold or the leasehold. You'll need evidence of partnership funding, and again, you'll need to give a aerial photo indicating the proposed location of the fencing. So with this one, you can actually use it towards ball retention netting. So if you've got a site where, I don't know, there's a train line behind it and balls keep going over and being lost for good, then you can look at getting ball retention netting up and using that as a way of preventing that ball loss. It can't be used for pitch perimeter fencing. So if you're looking at pitch perimeter fencing, the only avenue for you to be able to secure that is the Premier League Stadium Fund. And the Premier League Stadium Fund only services pitches that are used in the National League system, steps 1 to 6, or the Women's Football Pyramid, steps 2 to 4. So yeah, just worth bearing that in mind when you're looking at this one. Changing pavilions. So this is largely around refurbing changing pavilions, because 25k wouldn't get you a new build, but again, you'd need 2 like-for-like quotes, planning permission, probably if you're doing anything external. Again, you'll need the freehold or leasehold of at least 5 years, and evidence of partnership funding, and landlord's consent as well. So generally with the change in pavilion ones, you're going to need a condition survey, which is basically outlines what the current situation is with the pavilion, and identifies some preferred works that will get the pavilion up to a more effective standard. So yeah, that's the first thing you need. It's also worth considering whether you'll need building regulations as well. So you'll be asked that question during the application process. And again, with this one, you can't go through this fund to try and secure funding towards converting of containers into change rooms as well. So I've just seen a question come in around, would it cover replacement of showers? So it would. Yes, anything like that. So there's on the foundation's website, there's some recommended change in pavilion design considerations. The general design guidance now is around consideration of privacy. So a lot of older sites will have open showers. Now the advice is around having cubicle showers, ideally 4. So if you're looking at converting an open shower into a set of 4, or you're looking to move where your showers are, all of that kind of stuff would be fundable under this. Question regarding a condition, who would do a condition survey. So I can probably get a set of different contractors across to you, Kevin, regarding who can do condition surveys. But yeah, I think I've got 3 or 4 contacts that I can send round, that I think operate across the southeast, so that it should be applicable to other county FAs as well. They will obviously charge, and there's no guarantee that you'd get the funding even after you've had that survey done, but that would be the kind of base level that you'd need, because you'll upload that with your application, and then the Football Foundation have got a clearer understanding of what the situation is on your site. And with this one, again, you'll need the freehold or a leasehold of at least 5 years remaining. And just a question regarding, if the changing room was already a converted container, could the fund cover shower conversion? I'll have to come back to you on that one. I'm not 100% sure, but I will. Yeah, I'll note that question down and try and get that question answered before the recording and slides get sent round. Okay. Onto 3G pitch machinery. So I know this won't necessarily apply to everyone on the call, because you might not be in a position where you own a 3G pitch, or manage a 3G pitch, but there's up to 25 grand available again towards maintenance machinery. Key condition with this one is that the pitch that you're using must be on the 3G pitch register, otherwise it won't be eligible for this fund. You'll need to have photos of where the equipment's going to be stored. The fund hasn't got security of tenure requirements, but it's still one that sits outside of funding for steps 1 to 6 of the National League system, and tiers 2 to 4 of the women's football pyramid. So yeah, just to bear that in mind if you're maintaining a National League system pitch, that you wouldn't be able to apply for the machinery via this fund. So small sided facilities. So this is largely looking at small multi-use games areas, or 3G, small 3G pitches. The foundation, whilst they have this as an offer, is not one that they will often look to fund. Their focus, certainly in the last strategy period, and definitely into the one over the next 5 years, is around the large 3G pitches, because they see that there's a much greater amount of value that you can get out of a 3G pitch. A large 3G pitch will have obviously multiple users using it all at the same time. However, they are open to some projects if they're going to deliver particular good outcomes for them. So again, applicants will need to get 2 like-for-like quotes. You'll need a condition survey, which is provided by a sports pitch consultant, which will basically say, right, this is the situation in terms of the sub base, this is the situation in terms of the fencing, the floodlighting, and then they'll provide a set of options around what you could do, whether it's replacing it with a like-for-like surface, whether it's replacing it with a different type surface, depending on what different sports are planned to be played on it, whether the lights need changing from halogen to LED, for example. All of that will go into the melting pot and provide you with that report, which will then give an indication as to what options you've got. Again, with these ones, the cost of resurfacing a small-sided facility can be quite significantly beyond £25,000. So although it says on there that you need to contribute 25%, it's very likely that your contribution would need to be significantly more than that if you were looking to go down this route, because the maximum grant's only 25 grand. And onto the newest fund. So this one was only launched about 6 weeks ago. It's the Lionesses Here to Play Fund, which was a new fund created in reaction to the Kelly Simmons review into women and girls football, which essentially suggested that there needed to be a women's capital fund, which looked to change the historic facilities that have been built for the male game and make them more welcoming and safer for women to utilize. So the maximum grant is 25 grand, as with the others. Again, you'll need 2 like-for-like quotes. There are some similarities with this one with the Change in Pavilion fund. So if you're looking at certain elements around your Change in Pavilion, and if you've got one set of showers, for example, but you can only access them via the men's changing rooms, and you want to change that so that you've actually got 2 shower areas, one that services the females and one that services males, you can use this fund to access it. You can't combine this fund with the Change in Pavilion fund, so you'd have to go down one route or the other. If you go down this route, you will need to have attended an equal game workshop, which is run by County FAs in partnership with the FA. And that workshop basically gives you a bit of advice and understanding around how you can make sure that your football club is creating as equal an environment as possible. So that'll be looking at how you're scheduling usage on your facilities, what your committee makeup is like, whether you provide certain things around your facility like sanitary bins, that sort of thing, that can make utilizing your site a lot more welcoming and friendly for females. In terms of what you can apply for, things like coffee machines, mirrors, hair dryers, all of those sorts of smaller items can all be included within this. There is a list on the foundation website which you can have a look at after this, which will detail all of them. What's important with this one, though, is that you'll also need to have a club development plan in place with a women and girls growth section included within that, so that when you effectively apply for this, they'll be able to see that actually, because they're going to put in these various different changes to their site, that should then mean that that they'll get that increased women and girls usage. So if you're looking to go and apply for this fund towards getting a coffee machine, but you're still planning to be a male only site, your funding application will get rejected. So so it's just worth bearing that in mind. And then the second to last, well, sorry, this is the last of the different options. This is the second most recent fund that the foundation have made available, which is the catering units. So this grant is up to £50,000. Effectively, these catering units they're largely geared around trying to get you to generate more income for yourself, so that you can spend that surplus on improving your grass pitches, if you've got a grass pitch, or just supporting a club generally if it's 3G, for example. So again, you'll need planning approval or evidence from the local authority that planning is not required. They'll want to see an income and expenditure forecast, so a bit of an idea as to how you're going to kind of navigate that. Evidence of your partnership funding again, a marked up drawing and aerial photo of where you're planning to actually have the catering unit. Ideally, applicants should have already had a pitch power assessment completed. Or if it's only a 3G pitch that's on the site, then it'd need to be on the 3G pitch register. So essentially, the foundation want to know, right, have they got started with thinking about the quality of their pitches? When they look at your income and expenditure forecast, they'll be looking at how much money you're then generating each year versus how much money you would be able to or would be advised for you to use to get your pitches up to a good standard, which they'll do via pitch power. So that's why it's important to make sure that you've got that completed ahead of that. The avenue for applying for catering units is slightly different. So you need to contact your county FAs first, who'll then have a conversation with the Football Foundation about your specific site. And then if it's agreed for you to proceed, you'll then be given the green light to do that. There are some preferred suppliers which are listed on the foundation's website. They've got a framework that they're all working to in terms of what the designs look like. Some of them include toilets. So for sites where you don't have any toilets on the site, this could be quite a good way of killing two birds with one stone. But again, you'd need to approach two of the different suppliers and then try and get quotes from both of them before then deciding who you're gonna progress with. Okay, so just conscious of time because I know that Joe is eagerly waiting and he's got to jump off to another in-person meeting with another county FA after this. So we're just going to head into the applicant contributions section, and then after Joe's done his bit, we'll then pick up any further questions because I think I saw one or two that popped in whilst we were going through as well. So applicant contribution. So after your grant's awarded, you're going to need to submit a claim. So once you've been offered the funding, it won't just land in your account. You'll need to then go back into the application portal and then submit a claim. And I'll give you a bit of insight into how you do that. There is some support on that on the foundation's website. In order to submit a claim, you'll need to upload invoices from your suppliers or contractors for the work that's been undertaken. This is why it's really important that once you've been awarded or offered a grant, that you progress with the project quickly. Because if your quote expires, so say you've got a 3-month quote and the quote expires, and then you've been awarded the funding, and then you seek another quote to kind of get the work started 4 months later, the cost might have risen. And if that is the case, the foundation won't cover the shortfall. So that would be something that you'd need to be responsible for yourself. So that's just worth bearing that in mind. Obviously, making sure you've got a plan for your applicant contribution before you submit your application to the foundation will help you to prevent that situation occurring. In terms of alternative sources of funding, so you can contact your local active partnership. So our one in Kent is Active Kent and Medway. London have got London Sport. So there'll be various active or every county FA area will have an active partnership. So it's worth leaning on them and seeing what funds you can tap into there. Your local town and parish councils, if you have those in your area, can also have pots of funding. You might do your own internal club fundraising, or, and this leads me nicely on to Joe's section, you might consider easy fundraising as a way of pulling together some funds that you can then use towards some of these projects. So I'll pass on to Joe now, who is going to talk to us about easy fundraising.
Cheers, Aidan. Can you hear me all right, yeah?
Yep, can hear you all okay, Joe.
Lovely. I'll quickly share my screen then. Right. So, I'm not going to kind of like dwell too much on where I've come from, but like Aidan said, I have been at Birmingham FA for 8 years before joining these fundraising, so can really see a good link of how football clubs and teams can use easy fundraising as a way to help towards partnership funding. So thanks, Aidan, for asking me on today. So essentially, what is easy fundraising? So Easy Fundraising is a completely free way that your players, their parents, any other family members, coaches, any volunteers, anyone with connection to your football team can raise money for your team whenever they do their everyday online shopping. Essentially, they start their journey with us, and then a retailer will donate a proportion of what they spend back to their team or their club at no extra cost to them. Um, there's over 8,000 retailers to choose from. So anywhere you think you can probably spend online or you are shopping online, we have kind of relationships with those retailers. And to date, we've had over 1.6 million donated completely free to football teams up and down the UK. Today was actually one of our donation days, and I'll go into what that is in a sec. And football clubs have received a share of £83,000 today. So it's mad to think that people, football clubs are missing out on that free opportunity. In terms of how it can link to your partnership funding, so like Aidan's kind of alluded to, a lot of the grants that you're looking for need a 25% contribution, which might be £1,000, might be a few £1,000s. And easy fundraising is a great way to kind of help top up that pot. So when you are coming to apply for these funds, you've got them in your club bank account and it's cash ready to spend on where you want to kind of get, whether that's goalpost storage, fencing, all the things Aidan's been through. I know they're not talking about grass pitches today, but one thing that I think is really helpful for as well is on the grass pitch maintenance funds, when you're looking at years 3 to 6, that's when the element of contribution comes in. So if you start easy fundraising at year 1 of your application, by year 3 you'd have built up a nice little pot into there to help kind of bridge some of that gap and towards some of that partnership funding. So I really think easy fundraising is a good place to help you towards achieving your 25%. In terms of the benefits of easy fundraising, so it's completely free for the club or the team to set up. It's completely free for the users as well. Easy to set up, and once it is set up, it's automatic. So it's fundraising without you even thinking about it. The money you get is unrestricted, so you can put it towards any of these grants we're talking about, or it could simply go towards any kit, equipment, ref hire, pitch hire, whatever you name it, you can use it where you want. There's no conflict with any existing fundraising that you're currently doing, and there's no reporting involved. So we're not going to ask you to submit where that money's been spent. So it's nice and easy. It's cash in the bank for your team to use. And I mentioned donation day. So you were paid 4 times a year. Donation day is one of them. So every quarter, providing you meet a minimum threshold of retailer donations raised. So the process is nice and simple. So you sign up, you spread the word, you get your members to shop online. So signing up, this is a very confusing slide. I do appreciate it, but for those partners that we are County Phase that we are partnering with, each of them have their own specific link to register. So if you are listed, if your County Phase listed on the page right now, you can go to their website, which is obviously underneath the logo and the QR code. Or if you wanted to, you could scan the QR code on your phones now. And it would take you to their sign up page. And it's really simple. You'll come to a landing page like the thing in the bottom left here. You put your team name or your club name in and you start your journey. The one thing that they, or just before, if your County FA isn't partnered with us, but you're on the call, you can still sign up, but you can use the generic football link there as well. The one thing to mention is as well that part of that process is you will be asked to book a call with our fundraising team. Please do that. It's 15 minutes at a convenient time for you. They'll talk you, they'll handhold you through the platform, how to raise a donation, how to recruit supporters, and you'll get into specialised incentives as well by doing it. So I'd definitely recommend booking that call when it's prompted to do so. There's 2 ways in which you can approach easy fundraising. So you can either go with the club approach, you can go with the team approach. The club approach is nice and simple. You set your team up, you ask all your members, from all age groups up, parents, players, coaches, to support their club, and everything that you raise will go into that one pot. There's another way in which you can look at it is you can encourage each individual team to register as well. So that can be split into two ways again. So you can encourage all of your teams to register, and everything they own goes back to them and they keep it. So that's the way of your club giving back to your team. Say, look, here's easy fundraising, sign up. And whatever you fundraise, you keep for your end of season tour, for your kit equipment, hire, however you want to spend it. Another way, linking to some of this small grant stuff, is you can encourage all of your teams individually to register. So if you're a 20-team club, you can get 20 individual easy fundraising accounts. Ask all the players, parents, spectators, volunteers linked to that team to register. But when they're asked to provide bank account details for payments, they could all list the club bank account details, and then that way they would all be fundraising for a collective goal. And the one thing I like about this is, on donation day, the club will see 20 payments come into their club. They will know which team has raised you the most. And then you could do that to drive some kind of internal competition. So you could say, under 13s have raised us the most amount this quarter, so we're going to pay for them to go on a bowling night out or something like that. That's just an example. So there's lots of ways you can be creative with this, but it's just worth, I know sometimes I get asked the question, does it have to be a club? Can you be a team? The answer is you can be both. Spreading the word. So we're not expecting you to generate any content yourself or think, creatively how you're going to promote this to your players, your coaches. All the templates you need to basically copy and paste, schedule, send emails, send WhatsApp messages is there ready to go. And it's always personalized. So you can see in that image there that I support Midlands Down Syndrome football. So all the content you have will have your club name or your team name in there. And then WhatsApp messages again, for example, it's all focused this month around Black Friday and how your team could, earn plenty of money just through people spending online for Black Friday, Christmas shopping. So it's a no-brainer to get set up now. So all the material to help you spread the word is ready for you to go. And there's 3 ways in which you can shop with Easy Fundraising. I'm going to really quickly demo this for you. We do have an app. I'm not going to demo that now. But the website and the donation reminder tool, I'm going to quickly demonstrate for you now. So here's our website. I'm going to demonstrate exactly how you would normally kind of shop with Easy Fundraising. So let's just say I'm doing some home improvements and I'll go to B&Q. I would come to Easy Fundraising. I would find them as a retailer, and then I would click shop now. So you can see at the moment, if you shop to B&Q, you get 3% donation back to your team. Now, I understand that's changing people's buying habits. They're having to remember to come to Easy Fundraising first, which is sometimes a bit of an issue. So the donation reminder tool I mentioned is a web browser extension. So when you register, you're prompted to download this, and I will note it's available on your phones as well. And I could search shops. I can look into my account. I can see how much I've raised. But where it works best is if I go to Google now and I Google B&Q, for example, the first thing you get is a pop-up reminder within Google. So it's telling you that shop at B&Q, click on this link and you will get 3% donation. So if I clicked on that link and then did my shopping through B&Q, 3% will go back, and I haven't had to go to Easy Fundraising first. Let's just say we ignore that and we go into Google and we come to the website. You'll get another pop-up. So it will say, click here to get your donation. So I simply click one button. It will kind of reload the page for you. Your E will go green and you'll get a notification to say B&Q will now donate to your cause. So I'll pop in my basket, me paint, me 3x2 wood, me screws, me tools, whatever I'm buying there, and 3% will go back. No questions asked. Another way in which the donation reminder tool works is if you're looking for particular items. So let's say Black Friday's coming up and you want to look for you're looking to buy a laptop. The first thing you'll see is this little pop-up here. So similar to the one where I search for a retailer, it's now giving me some suggestions and the kind of donations that I could get back off that retailer. So judging off that list, I might go, do you know what? I'll have a look at what Argos have got to offer, because 4% is going back rather than 1% at Currys. So it's just a nice kind of way to kindly remind your members so they're not missing out on these free donations from the retailers. So that's a real quick demo. But if like I said, if you book the call with our fundraising team, they will walk you through that nice and slow. Some top tips. So I'll kind of start on the top right-hand corner. So the donation reminder tool, like I said, it's a no-brainer. Get that installed and people will never miss a donation whenever they're shopping online. The weekly shop is a fantastic and easy way to rate that your members could raise. So even if just one parent was to do their online weekly shop at Morrison's all year round, they could raise your team £67.60. You multiply that by 10, that's 670 quid that you've got, just by someone doing their online weekly shop at no extra cost to your club. And that is probably your partnership funding towards a set of goalposts just there. Cashing on holidays, so these big ticket items, when you're thinking about booking flights, accommodation, really think about using easy fundraising. I'll give you an example. Booking.com recently, and I've benefited from it. They were giving £10 donations whenever you book a hotel online with Booking.com. I'm going to Florence and Bologna next year. I booked them two separately, and I had a Midlands Down syndrome 20 quid just by booking holidays that I was going to book anyway. So always look out for them offers, visit the website, but cashing on holidays is a really good way to raise money for your team. And then the final point is about getting business supporters involved through easy fundraising. So I'd always encourage you to do an internal audit within your club or your team and see if there's anybody that does business purchasing or has got connections with businesses. Encourage them to do their business purchases through easy fundraising for you. This could be somebody booking accommodation for staff. This could be an account manager traveling up and down the country or getting flights with Virgin or Trainline. Whenever they're making them purchases, they'll be raising money for your team. Similarly, if you've got a plumber or electrician within your club, whenever they, did a click and collect at B&Q or went to go and pick up stuff from Wix, every time they did that as part of their job, they would be raising money for your team. So really think about linking businesses to your easy fundraising supporters. Just a few real life success examples. I've tried and keep it localized to some of the county FAs that were on this call tonight. So, we've got Quarry Rovers raised over £3,000, same as Charlton Athletics, LGBTQ team, East Surrey Hawks, 2,800. Burwell have raised just over £2,000. I'm not going to go through it there, but you can see that there's already clubs and teams out there that are benefiting from this. And this is all, again, free money at no extra cost to anybody but the retailer donating back to your team. Now is the best time to join. You've got Black Friday coming up. You've got people Christmas shopping. When our stats show that, the average person is expected to spend about £250 on Black Friday alone, and that equates to roughly around £7.50 per person. So if you had your starting 11 raising and spending online Black Friday, that's 82 quid you could earn just in one single day, and that is literally just the start. Once they've done that, all year round they'll be spending money online and you'll be raising free money. And also for this month as well, for every supporter that downloads the app and then registers as a supporter for your club or your team will get £2 per supporter, and there's a limited available. I think there's about 20,000 supporters they're going to pay out on at the moment. So there's about £40,000 easy fundraising are committing to this. So we really want you to get your supporters on board and encourage them to register via our app. Just to quickly summarise then, it's risk-free, passive income, unrestricted funding that can really help towards some of your partnership funding for some of these small grants, which Aidan has mentioned earlier. I'm going to pop them up there. I'm conscious of time, but I will put the links in the chat to all of them as well. And I'm sure Aidan will share the slides round following the presentation. If you do have any questions, obviously now, pop them in the chat. I don't know if there has been any, I'll pick them up. But if you wanted to come to me directly, it's joe.robinson@easyfundraising.org.uk. And obviously I'll happily support you. And one thing to note there is if you are one of these larger clubs and you want to, some support in delivering this specifically for your clubs, let's say on the manager's evening or anything like that, I can jump on a call and I can do this kind of presentation, encourage them how to sign up and stuff like that, support you as well. So that's something I'm happy to do. And that is it, Aidan. I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to pop all the links in the chat now. And then, if there's any questions as we go along, guys, just I'll pick them up in the chat. I will probably need to dip out at 8 o'clock though, Aidan, if there's none before that.
Brilliant. Thanks so much for that, Joe. I think that's really, really helpful for people, especially who are maybe thinking that the partnership fund element might be what's stopping them from applying for some of the Football Foundation grants. So hopefully that will, it gives people another option that they can consider to hopefully help improve their facilities. So we're just going to head on now to how to apply for Football Foundation funding. I've deliberately left this bit till the end because it's possibly the bit that slows down the actual applications themselves. Once you've got all set up, they're quite easy to submit, but sometimes it's getting on the system that can slow you down a bit. So first thing just to note is that you're going to need 2 contacts to sign up to the Football Foundation application portal. And they must be, if you're a football club, they must be your chair, secretary, or treasurer. If you're, for example, working with your parish council and they're going to be who's applying for the fund, then there's a different set of roles that are eligible for town and parish councils. Same with district and borough level councils. Same with schools, etc., charities. So, but from a football club perspective, it's only those 3 roles currently that can be the primary and secondary contacts on the grant. So you'll need to get verified as a legitimate individual by your county FA. So this should happen relatively automatically, but it's not always the quickest. And I'll explain as we kind of go through what basically happens and a bit of a tip as to how you might be able to speed that process up. You need to ensure that your bank details are entered for your organisation when you set yourself up, and that the name of the bank account matches that of the organisation. When you log in to submit your claim after the first year, you'll need to submit invoices to prove how you've spent the previous year's funds. So that's something that you'll log into the same system to do as well. And then your secondary contact will also need to log in and countersign their claim as well. Previously, if you were using the Football Foundation's old system, your secondary contact would have received an email prompt telling them that they need to go in and countersign. That no longer happens with this new system. So you're going to need to tell your secondary contacts that they need to log in and then go through the process to countersign that claim. Okay, so let's get into it and we'll do a quick demo. Just pull this across. So first things first is you'll need to head to footballfoundation.org.uk, which will land you here. Let me just make this a bit bigger actually, because it's not biggest. There we go. And you've got a big green button at the top here, which says create account/login. Click that. And then it takes you to this page. So you'll need to click sign in. So you'll notice that the URL has changed slightly. You've got Power Apps Portals on there. That's just the foundation's, that's their new application portal effectively. One thing I hadn't mentioned is if you have previously applied for funding with the Football Foundation using their old portal, so this will be anything prior to December 2024, you'll still need to register on this new one. So when they changed it over, although some of your details will carry over, your projects will carry over, you won't be in the system, so you'll need to re-register. So you click sign in, you land here. So if you haven't got an account, you'll need to click sign up now. So one thing that's worth stressing is your secondary contact will also need to sign up. So as we go in, there is an element where you can add their details in, but they're still going to need to create a login so that they can go in. So I'll sign in. And now we first land on the profile page. So where you've signed up, you'll then have your name, your email already be in there, etc. You're likely to have no organizations listed at the bottom here. So the first thing that you'll need to do is add your organization. So you'll click that. Now, the best thing to start with is to see if your organization is already in the system. it's likely it will be, unless you're a particularly new club. So you can search any club. So if we go with Canterbury, so we've got a number of different organisations, university, city council, we've got primary schools in there. Some of these have never applied for Football Foundation funding, but they're in the system anyway. You can then select your organisation and then select what your position is in the organisation. Again, it's important that here you select chair, treasurer, or secretary, and then click request access. When that happens, you'll then the Football Foundation will then send an email to your county FA asking if the person who's requested access is legitimately in one of those roles according to the FA club portal. Sometimes that doesn't happen very quickly, so it can sometimes be sat awaiting verification for several days, even up to beyond a week. So one thing I would encourage is once you've done this, if you then just send your county FA an email saying, right, I've just requested access for and the name of your organisation, tell them which email address you've used to sign up to the portal as well, then they can go front foot and email the Football Foundation directly to say, this person has tried to request access for so-and-so club. I can confirm that they are the chair or they are the secretary or they are the treasurer. The Football Foundation will then approve you as verified on the portal, and you'll then be able to progress. The county FAs don't automatically see who's requesting, so we have to wait until we get sent a list from the Football Foundation. They tend to send it over in bulk, so they'll maybe wait a couple of weeks and then send them over in a batch, which is why that getting access to the actual site can cause a bit of a delay. So that's the little cheat code for you, is if you contact your county FA after you've done this, then that can sometimes get you through the verification process a bit quicker. If your organisation isn't listed in there, then you can create a new one. So you just click create new organisation. It will ask you some details about the organisation. So what your name is, obviously which sport, organisation type, so whether you're a local authority, a football club, etc. And then the address and which county FA you would affiliate to. So once you've done that, this and you've been verified, so you'll see that once you've requested access, it will initially say pending verification. Once you've got through that bit and you've been verified, it will change to green. It will say verified, and this arrow here will appear. So you can then click on that and manage organization. Now you're in this section, you can add your organization's bank account by clicking that. You can add your organization's sites, which is needed for some grants but not others, but it's worth adding your sites on anyway, just so that when you do want to go to apply for one, it's already there. That will also trigger another verification process. So when you add your site on, the foundation will contact the county FA to say, does Canterbury Rovers use Canterbury Recreation Grounds? And we'll say, yes, they do use it, or no, they don't, according to whether you've got the ground listed on the FA club portal. So again, that can be something that if you're doing a change in pavilion application, for example, that can take a bit of time to work through. In terms of organisation contacts here, so you can add your secondary contact by clicking that, put their details in, what their position in the organisation is, etc. However, they will still need to create a login for themselves. So if you've done that and you then go to start an application, it'll ask you who your primary contact is. You'll probably put your own name in, or you'll see your own name in the drop down to put in. It'll then ask for who your secondary contact is. Your secondary contacts you won't be able to put them in there unless they've got a login and have been verified. So they'll need to be in this list as verified effectively. Once you've done that, you're all set up and ready to go. The rest of the process is not as arduous as that bit. That is the bit that slows most people down, is getting through verification, getting their secondary contact verified, and getting their site verified. But hopefully this will help you to get through that process a bit quicker. Once you've done all that, you can then click on apply now. You'll see you've got the Grassroots Maintenance Fund, which has got a separate funding avenue. You've got the Lioness is Here to Play Fund, which is obviously the newest fund that I mentioned. That's got a separate application view. The reason why that one sits slightly separately is when you apply for that particular fund, there could be multiple items that are in there. So you could be looking at mirrors and hair dryers and CCTV and external lighting, all very different things, and they're obviously wanting two like-for-like quotes. The actual application process will only allow you to upload two quotes. So the advice that they've given is they want you to put the quotes all together into one document for the cheapest ones, and the second set of quotes all together as your second ones, and upload them as a batch. So you almost end up with two documents that have got 4 different quotes in all of them, and uploading it that way. So just something to bear in mind if you're looking at that particular fund. Again, if when you get to that point you're struggling, then just contact your county FA and they can give you a bit of one-to-one support on that. For all other funds, obviously you've got this one on the end, so you would then be into your funding application point. So you'll see here that you can select different projects. So if I selected storage containers, it's now taken out goalposts and LED floodlights and a catering unit, because it's saying that there's only certain ones that you can apply for altogether. So if I was to click goalposts, for example, then it takes out all of them. Fencing still leaves most of them there, but takes out again just a few different ones. So some of them you can bolt together. If you are bolting them together, it's worth noting that the total package can still only be £25,000. So if you're looking at fencing plus portable floodlights and storage containers, you can apply for all 3 in one go, and the foundation would prefer that you do it that way because it's one application that they're assessing then rather than 3. But the total project cost can still, or the total funding request still can't exceed £25,000. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through. I've got a demo one that I'll pull up that I'll go through for you for changing pavilions. So if you click on projects, if you've got any existing projects with your organisation, you'll see those listed. Ignore this because as a county FA we can see all of these, but you'll have a much fewer number of these listed. So obviously you've got your grant reference numbers, what the project is. Obviously you have your own organisation listed as the primary applicant, which particular scheme you're applying to, and then what the status of the project is. So I'm just going to go into the demo pavilion project, which I've got here. So it says applications not yet submitted. The action menu, continue. Hopefully it's going to come up. Okay. So you'll see it's got a little menu on the left hand side. It's got tasks that have been completed and ones that obviously I still need to complete the declaration section before it can be submitted. It'll ask for a project name. With some of the grants, it will pre-populate, particularly the Grass Pitch Maintenance Fund. It will pre-populate what your project name is. But for most, you'll need to just put in what the project is, who the main beneficiary of your application is. So obviously it's saying grassroots football regional feeder league. If you were to select national league systems, so say you're a step 6 club, you click that, it will then say your project's ineligible. You need to visit the Premier League Stadium Fund. So again, as I mentioned before, if you've started work on the project already and you clicked, yeah, we've started work on it, it won't let you continue. It will also ask if you've spoken to your county FA or the Football Foundation delivery manager for this particular one. Have they had sight of the designs and drawings yet? Generally, they'll be able to give you a bit of advice to make sure that what you're submitting is fit for purpose and it's going to meet any planning requirements that are there. It'll meet the facility requirements from a FA and football point of view. So yeah, it's worth, particularly for pavilion projects, if you're considering one, to get in touch with your county FA and get them onto site to review it first. Then you go into organisation details. So obviously your primary applicant would be your own organisation. It will ask you to input your address, which you can search your address using the little spyglass on the right. Now, contacts, this is where some people get slowed up. So as I mentioned before, your primary contact will be yourself. Your secondary contact will then be on a drop-down menu. If your secondary contact isn't listed there, it's because they either are not verified yet, or they haven't logged in, or they haven't set themselves up to be able to log into the application portal. So it's really important that they do that. But if you can't see them there, that's why. It'll ask obviously which county you're affiliating to, whether you've got a partner club or involved, or a league, and then obviously what you're actually planning to do, like how your project's going to support community grassroots football. So it doesn't have to be too lengthy. Obviously, it gives you 2,000 characters. That's 350 there, so it gives you a bit of an idea as to how much content they're actually after. Obviously, in this one, I've just put a plan to make our changing rooms more accessible for women and girls. Facilities currently have four changing rooms as a toilet block with urinals and a single toilet closet and shower block. The proposal will be to create cubicle shower provision in the changing rooms, along with a larger toilet block with gender-neutral toilet provision. So that will be simple enough. You don't have to use the full 2,000 characters, as long as you can get across exactly what you're trying to do. It'll then ask you to populate which site this is for. So again, you needed to have added in your site beforehand, otherwise you won't be able to progress past this bit. And the drop-down menu will have your sites listed. It'll ask if you've got the freehold to the site. So if you select no, it'll then ask you if you've got a lease instead for at least 5 years. You'll need to select yes on that, because otherwise they'll reject your application. When you then select yes, it will then ask you to upload your lease. So let's go back to that, because we've already uploaded a document there. So it's saying planning permission may be required for your works. Do you think your project needs planning? Even if you select no, it'll ask you to upload evidence that planning permission is not required. So as I said, you'll need an email from your local authority to say, yeah, for what you're proposing to do, you don't need planning for that. If you select yes, then it will ask you to upload evidence that you've got planning permission. Building regulations. So it will ask if you think your project needs building regulations. Obviously, every pavilion project is different. So you need to click on building regulations there, which will take you to planningportal.gov.uk, which will you'll be able to have a look into the detail of your project and whether it's suggesting that you are going to need building regulations or not. Then this is where you put a little more detail about the actual project itself. So Clubhouse project details, really sell it and tell them what you're looking to do, what actual work is going to take place, who you've spoken with and liaised with to get advice that this is what you can do. So have you spoken to any design consultants about it? You'll need to upload photos of your existing building to give a bit of an indication as to what the site looks like, to build the picture. One key thing to note and remember with this is the Football Foundation don't know your site and they're not going to visit your site, but they're going to award you some funding towards it. So you really need to paint the picture for them so that they can see exactly what the issue is and what you're proposing to do. So yeah, and then secondly, uploading any drawings. If you've had any drawings done, which is going to show if you're going to be knocking walls down and moving the configuration of your buildings, indicating what that's going to look like. That might be via a schedule of works. And then that condition report that I mentioned previously as well. So you need to upload that here just so that they can kind of see that in all its detail. You then get down to quotation section. So you need to put who the supplier is, what they're going to be doing, how much they've quoted, and then upload a PDF of that quote. So for grants such as the goalpost one, you can't use the figure that's on the supplier's website. You need to get them to email you a quote. So yeah, don't screenshot a website and use that for that circumstance. You'll upload your details of your second quote, whether there was any additional fees that need to be considered or a contingency fund, and then you'll have your total project cost, which is at the bottom there. Final section. So now is where you give a bit of an indication as to what your funding situation is in terms of your contribution. So you can now create or upload who your funders are. So it might be funder one is actually your club, and you've agreed that you're going to contribute £5,000 to the project, and below here you're then evidencing that. So you might upload to say, yeah, we've done some fundraising over the last year. We've raised some money via easy fundraising. This is now what we've got in our account, and we're putting £5,000 towards it. You might also have your active partnership has said, yeah, we'll put £2,000 towards that project, and they've given you a letter which has got conditions attached, which might be, we'll only give you the 2,000, assuming you get the remaining funding via yourself and the Football Foundation, which is often the case. But yeah, you'll upload the evidence of that as well below. So then you've got your grant summary. So we know the whole project cost £21,000. You got £7,000 of partnership funding, which is £5,000 from the club and £2,000 from your active partnership, which means your grant request is a total of £14,000. So your grant value, which, as I mentioned at the start, the foundation will only go up to a maximum of 75%. And then the final section is just your declaration and submission. So it's just confirming that what you've submitted on the form is accurate, that you've uploaded all required documentation, etc., etc. and then some questions around your satisfaction with the application process and any support that you've needed along the way from Football Foundation staff, and then submit your application. So whilst there's a few hurdles to get through at the front end, once you've got through those, the actual application itself is relatively straightforward. In terms of what happens after you've then submitted, the public line around how long it takes for an assessment to or a decision to be made is 2 weeks. In actuality, it's probably closer to 4. So if you are looking at, for example, doing a goalpost one in the summer, I'll try and do it as early as you can so that you're not leaving it to the point where your season's about to start and you haven't got your goals yet. Try and get it done with, or give yourself a good lead-in time. I'd suggest 2 months is safe because the verification process can take a few weeks. Then when you've actually submitted the application, that can take up to probably 4 is what I'd suggest. So that's 6 weeks gone already. And then when you get the grant offer, you'll get sent through the terms and conditions of the grant. You'll then need to respond to them to accept the grant offer. Then they'll activate on your portal the ability to submit a claim. In terms of how you do that, so we'll go back to my projects, and I'm going to filter this to manage your claims. So it's only going to show me grants that are active at the moment. All you need to do is click on the green button, click on continue. It's not gonna allow me because I'm not a applicant, or so I'm not registered against this organization. But you would click on continue, proceed to project documents, and then there'll be an option to start your claim. So it's a fairly straightforward process once you're in. Once you submitted the claim, which is dead easy to do, you should get the funds within a couple of weeks. So all in all, if you're looking at applying for something, I'd probably give yourself a 2-month window in which to get the application readied and submit, or get through the whole process from start to finish before the funds actually land in your account. Okay, we will finish that bit there then. So that's pretty much it in terms of the process. So in terms of next steps, if you're thinking about applying for any of the Football Foundation funds, I'd recommend getting registered and verified on the application portal as soon as you can. So even if it is next summer that you're thinking we'll get some goals, you might as well do that bit now. It just gets it out of the way and means that when the time comes, you're more set up and ready to go. Obviously, you just need to make sure that it's the chair secretary or treasurer that does it. And if the person in that position changes, then the new person would need to get set up on there as well. And when you're ready to go, start your application. But the key thing is, if you're struggling at any point, just contact your county FA, because they'll be able to provide support around any elements that you're struggling with. So hopefully that's been helpful and gives you a good start for 10 in terms of getting going with these applications, really. So, but what I'll do is I'll stay on in case people have got any questions now. But unless if you haven't got any, then thanks very much for coming along, and hope you found that useful.